Hello, friends. Welcome back. Mr. TV, today's story is not just about politics, not just about power, but about a moment in history where one decision shook the entire world. A moment where alliances broke, enemies became partners, and a leader stood alone against not just foreign nations, but his own people. This is the story of an 80-year-old president who, on the day the world expected celebration, chose disruption instead, as cameras flashed and global leaders tuned in from every corner of the planet. He walked slowly toward the podium, his face calm, but his eyes carrying the weight of something far bigger than a simple announcement. And then he said the words that would ignite controversy across continents. He announced a historic peace deal with a nation that had long been considered an enemy, a deal that promised to end years of silent war, economic pressure, and geopolitical tension. But what seemed like a step toward peace quickly revealed itself to be something much more dangerous, because peace in global politics is never just peace. It is power shifting hands. It is influence changing direction, and it is control slipping away from those who once held it tightly. Within hours of the announcement, reactions began pouring in. Some called it visionary, others called it betrayal, and inside the president's own administration, cracks began to form. Advisors who once stood firmly behind him now questioned his judgment. Intelligence officials started whispering in closed rooms, and powerful figures who had shaped foreign policy for decades suddenly found themselves sidelined. But the real storm was not inside the country. It was outside, because one particular ally, a nation that had long relied on this superpower for support, protection, and dominance in its region, felt completely blindsided. They had not been informed, not consulted, not even shown the details of the agreement, and their response was immediate and fierce. Their leader stepped forward and made a bold declaration that they would not follow the terms of this deal, that they were an independent nation, and that no foreign power, no matter how strong, could dictate their actions. This was not just disagreement. This was defiance. And in the world of global politics, defiance between allies is often more dangerous than open conflict between enemies. As tensions escalated, reports began to surface that the president had grown increasingly frustrated during the negotiations, that he had repeatedly warned this ally to hold back their military actions, to avoid interfering with the delicate balance being created. But those warnings were ignored. Strikes continued, operations intensified, and the peace process was pushed to the brink of collapse multiple times. Behind closed doors, heated conversations took place, voices were raised, threats were made, and for the first time in years, the relationship between these two nations began to fracture in a way that could not be easily repaired. Meanwhile, the country that was once considered the enemy started to gain unexpected respect from the president. Their resilience in the face of pressure, their refusal to back down, and their strategic responses in moments of crisis seemed to shift his perception, because this was a leader who respected strength above all else, a leader who measured nations not by their words but by their actions. And in this new dynamic, the lines between friend and foe began to blur. But as the world tried to make sense of these changes, something even more alarming started to unfold. Members of the president's own government began openly opposing him. Statements were released criticizing the deal, questioning its implications and warning of its consequences. It was as if the system itself was resisting change, as if invisible forces were pushing back against a shift they could not control. Analysts started calling it an internal rebellion, a rare and dangerous situation where the leader of a nation finds himself isolated within his own administration. And as tensions rose both domestically and internationally, whispers of conspiracy began to spread. Some believed that powerful lobbies were working behind the scenes to undermine the president. Others speculated that sensitive information could be leaked to weaken his position, and a few even feared that more extreme actions could be taken to stop him. Because in the world of power, when influence is threatened, the response is rarely passive. Days turned into weeks, and the situation only grew more intense. Protests erupted in major cities, media outlets ran endless debates, and global markets reacted with uncertainty. The president, however, remained firm. appearing in public with a calm demeanor, delivering speeches that emphasized independence, strength, and a new direction for the country. He spoke of breaking free from old dependencies, of redefining alliances, and of creating a future where decisions were made based